All right, so I just got everything to build my new PC for gaming exclusively. This is the first time I'm doing something like this. This is the first time I'm having a computer just for gaming, focused completely on the best specs out there for gaming for a beginner to intermediate PC. Here I'm going to show you everything I'm going to use to build this PC. Man, was this a ride? Man, was this difficult, but man, was it worth it. Okay, so here I have the motherboard, and Aorus Elite XP2. Very nice motherboard. Here we have the graphics card, our GPU. We're going to use the GeForce RTX 5070. The 1200 watt tough power thermal take, which is very good. And the Kraken Elite 360 all-in-one cooler, also a good addition. The chip is the AMD Ryzen 9 9950X3D processor with 16 cores. Very nice chip. And lastly, the SSD 980, which I changed to the 990 Pro, but it's very good. 2 sticks of RAM, 16 gigabytes each, at least 32 RAM, and also a couple of fans just to get a really nice airflow going in the PC box. And just about that will settle it. And there we have it. Now here I made a little list with all the components here, so there's nothing missing, everything that's been updated. And basically now we're gonna go on to the difficult part, the actual assembly of the PC. Now a tip that I got given that was very nice, that was very helpful, was to take everything out the box before assembling everything. Basically just taking every single thing, the SSD, the motherboard, the AMD Ryzen, AIO, everything straight, just so you can have a very nice, very compact setup, so that you can really get to set everything very nicely. Here I put the motherboard in the box so you can have a little bit more of a steadiness to it. Here we do one of the best and easiest things to do, one of the most satisfying things actually, and it's to put the chip on the motherboard, which is basically the first step to building your new PC. This is very simple. You have a little triangle in the corner of the CPU, which matches the one on the motherboard, and you just have to place it there very gently. You're not supposed to touch anything wrong here, and just basically just let it slide in there. And then you have to do a little bit of force to close it, but then it's gonna pop off and everything's gonna be just fine. Now, up next, I'm going to be putting the RAM on the RAM slots. Now, in your motherboard, there are some RAM slots that are marked first so that you can use 2 sticks instead of 4. I would suggest you start with 2. You can start with 4 as well if you want more RAM. More RAM is good. You can't have different brands on the RAM. You need to have the same kind of brand. And I placed it here on the second and fourth slot, which is usually the ones that say first on the motherboard. Another tip that I can give you personally is that somebody told me to build everything basically outside the box and connect it to the power just to see if everything runs smoothly, any red lights show up on the motherboard or anything like that. I didn't do this before and I had a bit of a troubleshoot at the end of the PC, so I wish I'd done this. So if you have time and you really want to take care of this new PC you're building, you want to take the proper care, proper process to getting your new PC running just fine and dandy, I would suggest you probably do this. Now, next up, I'm going to be using the little toolbox that you saw at the beginning. I'm going to screw here to put the new SSD on the motherboard. You're going to have to unscrew here, which is a little heat sink so that the SSD doesn't overheat when on the motherboard, when on the PC. So I'm going to screw here and I'm going to inject right there very smoothly the SSD. You got to be very careful with the SSD. You don't want to really break anything that connects to the motherboard, which could bring problems with you. So just do it very gently. You have to do a little bit of force, a little bit of push into it, but it should be just fine when it clicks, and you can just screw it there and leave it on and place the heatsink on top of it. And there we have it, guys. That's pretty much it for what goes connected, basically the parts that go into the motherboard. And then we're gonna go next with the AIO. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, the AIO is a little bit more intimidating when you take it out of the box than it really is to set up. Basically, the AIO will come with a few little packs of AMD Ryzen or Intel CPUs so that you basically have a different setup for each chip. Not to worry, you just need to figure out which chip you have, and then it's basically just a really easy setup. It's just these wedges, you have to put them underneath the CPU and basically just screw the AIO tight in there. It's really easy, very, very simple. It was a lot harder for me to understand hearing it than to actually doing it, if that makes any sense, but it's a very, very simple setup. All right, brochacho, we get to the nice part of the setup, putting the motherboard in the PC box. Now, as you can tell, as you can see in the video, I put the AIO pump afterwards. Now, this is a easier method. This is my method. There's different methods, obviously, but this is a very, very easy method that you can notice the top of the PC box. I put the fans on extract mode. Basically, the fans are gonna take the heat that comes from the CPU and the motherboard, and they're gonna push it out from the top. The pump has to be underneath the fans that come connected to the pump so that the water can get cool and nice and easy, and the CPU can get the little breeze that it needs. Basically here, I'm just gonna set it up very, very nicely, very, very tight. And then afterwards, I will just screw in the motherboard. Now, when it comes to the motherboard, there are a lot of ways that you could do it. Now, I'm gonna teach you how I did it, but you only do it your way if you want. It's a free-for-all, basically. So you need to connect the dots that come on the back of the motherboard into the ones on the PC box. Usually, and most likely, they will line up. But if you want to do it different ways, you want to screw it, some screws all at once, or maybe just screw a little bit from the underneath so that you can move the motherboard a little bit on top when you have to go through the cables. It's also a very, very good option. Now, some people do it this way. I find it a little bit more complicated and a little bit more unsteady to do it for my taste. But hey man, you do you, buddy. There are also a total of 10 screws. This will be for every motherboard and every PC box. Now, these 10 screws have to be connected so that the motherboard does not move. This is the ultimate goal. Once you're sure that the motherboard is well in place, now you're on to the next and final step of the construction of the PC itself. Now, this step, I have to warn you, is a little bit laborious and it's actually kind of annoying if something troubleshoots and you don't really know what it is. Basically, you're on to connect the tough power or your power source onto the motherboard so that the motherboard has power. Fortunately for you, there are smarter people than me that have gone through this step and that I used personally to connect this, because man, was it a nightmare for me. The whole cable thing set up and all this stuff and the extra fans was really going and getting to my nerves. Now, I connected here a little bit of an extra fan like control hub just to get a real nice control of all the fans within my BIOS. But I will leave you down on the link a very nice, very detailed video that I personally use myself, where you really get to see each cable, the LSAT cable, the PCIe cables that go on top that give power to the motherboard that you're gonna see here on the top, the other cables like the audio HD cable and all the other cables that you need to connect so that the PC has power. Now, I don't want you to be scared. This step is better and easier if you're smarter than me, which you probably are. But if you really need help and really get stuck in this process, I urge you to watch the video over and over that I put in this link so that you can really get down with the groove of it. Once you get down with the groove of it and you know which cable goes where, and you understand the function of each cable, this puppy is gonna go down and up again as many times as you want once you figure that out. But now this is just a little bit of a problem that I went through, and I didn't really record a lot of it because man, was I stressed. But I will put you like now what it looks like at the end product.